Fule, Commissioner for Enlargement and European Neighborhood Policy, June 27, 2013. The world to seek the right and freedoms of children. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the high-level conference on justice for children, jointly organized by the European Union and the United Nations Children's Fund or UNICEF. It is part of our continued support to neighboring and enlargement countries in establishing and reforming their juvenile justice systems. And it is also a reflection of the fact that we care for all children, in fact, for all of the children. Before taking stock of the current state of play and what needs to be done in the future, let me underline my strong commitment in implementing the European Union's policy on the promotion and protection of children's rights. This calls for a reinforced cooperation with national authorities, with civil society, so that we can ensure that children are treated as fully fledged members of society. There are still many challenges regarding the rights of the child juvenile justice system within the EU. In fact, EU itself has adopted several pieces of legislation relevant to children in justice in recent years. For example, the Directive on Sexual Abuse and Exploitation, the Anti-Trafficking Directive, and we intend to impose a new measure on suspects or defendants. The participation of enlargement countries in this conference is very relevant because the topic of today's conference is a priority area in the accession process. Indeed, the EU acquiesces on children's rights and child protection is not limited to Chapter 23, Judiciary and Fundamental Rights. No less than 17 others acquiesce chapters contain legal instruments that have important provisions on children's rights and protection. Despite some progress, there is still scope for considerable improvement when it comes to the children's rights. I am thinking in particular about the need to overcome institutionalization of children and to promote preventive mechanisms in support of families. And our concern don't just end there. Let me mention six other important areas that needs to be addressed. The first one is the lack of prioritizing children's rights in criminal proceedings. Lack of adapted policies corresponding to specific needs of juveniles in detention. Insufficient free legal aid for juveniles. 4. Repressive responses to juvenile offending. Lack of effective alternatives to detention and hence an overuse of detentions. And 6 is the lack of specific measures for child victims leading to unnecessary trauma and re-victimization. This is why it is so important that neighboring and enlargement countries not only adhere to international human rights standards, but they must also ensure the effective implementation of recently adopted criminal justice legislation, which is some countries is very progressive. Support for justice reform is one of the core pillars of the European Union external action. It aims at ensuring judicial independence, impartiality, integrity, increasing the performance, efficiency, accountability, and transparency of the justice sector, improving access to justice for the poorest and the most vulnerable, and improving detention conditions and introducing alternatives to imprisonment. Success, Successful justice reform initiatives are those built on national priorities, enjoying full political commitment and national ownership, as well as reinforced partnership between civil society and state decision makers. I would like to remind you about the ongoing support that the European Commission is providing in the neighborhood and enlargement countries. In the neighborhood countries, the Commission is supporting the juvenile justice reform within the rule of law agenda in Ukraine, Georgia, Moldova, Azerbaijan, and Armenia. through financial and technical assistance provided by the European Neighborhood and Partnership Instrument. In the enlargement countries, the Commission has been providing support through the Instrument for Pre-Accession Assistance to strengthen child protection measures in general and to support assistance for child victims. In Croatia, in context of child abuse and juvenile justice in particular. In Kosovo, Montenegro, former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia, and Turkey. Support for civil society working in the area of child protection has always been provided. Enlargement countries are gradually aligning their legislation with the EU acquis. The Commission is monitoring this process intensive, intensively, including when it comes to the rights of the child in the different chapters. On this point, I would like to underline that data collection is an important part of the monitoring work. The European Commission supports enlargement and neighborhood countries to support their statistical capacity so that reliable is available to support modern policy making. We remain committed to supporting projects and policies that enhance child protection systems and strengthen the rights of children, including as victims or in the context of criminal proceedings. Recognizing that juvenile justice reform is a key entry point for the promotion and protection of children's rights. EU support to date in advancing the juvenile justice reform agenda has focused on two areas. First, law reform for the promotion and protection of children's rights, in particular by encouraging and supporting the enactment and review of national legislation to ensure its compatibility with relevant international standards on the rights of the child, in particular the Convention on the Rights of the Child, and enhancing the capacity of law enforcement agency for investigations into the violation of children's rights and the development of child-friendly procedures in pretrial and court proceedings. Second, combating and discouraging violations of children's rights, particularly by prohibiting violators of the children's rights and ill treatment of children in law, including criminal law, ending impunity for violations of children's rights, and taking effective legislative, administrative, judicial, and other measures to prevent violations of children's rights under the jurisdiction of the state and to combat impunity for such violation. We do not work alone. UNICEF is one of our traditional partners whose vital work in the field is advancing the children's rights agenda in line with international standards and best practice. I am particularly proud of the cooperation that we have established with UNICEF to face the consequences of the Syrian crisis. When I was in Jordan recently, I went to the Satari refugees camp and inaugurated a school run by UNICEF and founded by the European Commission. Through this conjoint cooperation, we are giving children living in camps a semblance of normal life and the opportunity to acquire knowledge for building their lives. Through, inno- through innovative approaches, research, know-how, and constant involvement, UNICEF has greatly contributed in advising countries on how to reform their juvenile justice system based on modern legislation, policy, and operation. Today, we have the opportunity to discuss our achievements, but also what remains to be done and how so can enjoy their rights and freedoms and states can properly respond to their demands and expectations. The world we seek, it is in our mutual interest and it is our common goal. The children deserves nothing less.